I tend to defend coaches all the time and say, we've entered a time, Dabo, when it's ridiculous. If you don't show signs of winning by year two, the AD is already calling Jimmy Sexton. Hey, give me another. Who's the next coach I got to hire? You look at it today. It took you 3 or 4 years to get your recruiting really rolling, to really put in your culture. Do you think in the world we live in today, if you were in the SEC trying to beat Saban, you'd be able to get to a 4th year today?
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably not. Fortunately, for me, we won the league my 3rd year, and but even though we won the league, we got destroyed in the bowl game, and it just, we had, and then we lost to our rival, and so the first year we won the division, won 9. The second year we won 6 games, and that was not good. And in fact, a true story, the second year we won 6 games, and we lost to South Carolina, and it was a bad day. And I remember coming up, did the little press conference, and I came out and I was heading back to my office, and my wife met me outside, and she just had this horrible look on her face. And she was like, she said, "Babe, I'm so sorry." And she said, Mr. Phillips is in your office. And I just looked at her, and I said, "Well, hey, we did the best we could." I really thought I was about to be fired.
Wow.
This is my 2nd season. It's not like I was some sexy hire. And so, we just won 6 games. We just lost to South Carolina. It's not good. And so I'm thinking I'm about to be fired. And I knew he was under a lot of pressure. And I walk in my office, I come around the corner, and I look in, the door's kind of cracked, and Terry Don's sitting in there on the couch. And I walk in there, and it's dark. He didn't have the light on. And I walk in, he just says, "Hey, come over here and sit down." And I'm fully prepared to tell him thank you for the opportunity, and hey, sorry I let you down. And it was just a very bad moment. And I sit down, and he looked at me, and he said, and this was a turning point for me too, emotionally, and just you name it. And he said, "Dabo, listen to me." He said, "I know this was a tough game." And he said, "Look, there's going to be a lot of criticism for me and for you." He goes, "But here's what I want you to know." And he looked at me dead in the eye, and he said, "I believe in you more right now than when I did when I hired you." And he said, "You're going to be a great head football coach." And he said, he goes, "I just want you to know that I got your back." He said, "And if it don't work, you can help me pack, and I'll come help you pack." He said, "But I just want you to know, I think you are a great coach, and you're gonna do a great." And he got up and left. And so my mindset was in one, and I was just like, wow. And from that point on, like I said, the next year we've had 10 plus win seasons in a row, only us in Alabama. And but literally from that meeting forward, just to know that, this guy was truly all in and believed in me with all of his heart. And so I'm thankful, because not everybody has a Terry Don Phillips as an AD. And I'm thankful that I had a guy like him that believed in me and saw something in me, gave me a chance to be the interim, and then a chance to be the head coach.
Boy, that sounded like a scene from Goodfellas or Sopranos there for a second. Going to get whacked. Is it harder? I read a business book, Dabo, not long ago, and a CEO had remarked, "It's harder staying there than getting there." Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they're both hard, but I think it's a mentality. Like for me, I don't ever look at it as staying there. Like to me, I'm always building. I think I try to have that mentality every year. I got an MBA. I was in business school, and one of the things they teach you in the life cycle of anything, a business or whatever. You got the birth, you've got growth, you've got plateau, you got decline, you got death. All right. And so the key is to never plateau. And so how do you do that? Well, you got to always, recommit, refocus, restart, recharge, reinvest, all those things. And that's just kind of how I've done it every year. I mean, we start over every year as if we all just landed from a planet and we don't even know each other, and reinstall the program. Reinstall everything we do, why we do it that way. I do the same thing with the team, because I just think that, if you don't, the complacency sets in. I mean, and so we have a saying around here that greatness is always under construction. All right. Like our interstate out here, it's, I-85. I don't know how it is wherever you are, but I've been here 18 years and it's never not been under construction. And I think that's a mentality that you have to have. And I think anybody who's had consistency, because if you're going to be great at anything, and this is something, I remember when back in 11, when we won the 10 games for the first time in 20 years, you would have thought, I mean, it was like, oh my God, we won 10 games and everybody was all, and I'm like, listen, now you got to understand, I spent 13 years at Alabama. So I had a mentality when I came to Clemson. I 13 years at Alabama. Now I'm entering my 19th at Clemson. My 13th as the head coach. And I mean, that really wasn't that big a deal to me, and my focus was, okay, that's great, but let's go put 3, 4, 5, 6 years of these in a row together, because we're never going to be considered great if we don't do something really, really well for a long period of time. And that was really my goal from day one, was to build consistency on the field, consistency off the field. And, 9 out of the last 10 years, we top 10 academically, Clemson, Duke, and Northwestern. The last 10 years, we're second in the country in wins, second in draft picks since I've been a head coach. I mean, so we've built a model of consistency, and we've done it our way. We've done it in a consistent way. And that's really what I'm more proud of than anything is the consistency. I've had 289 seniors, 284 graduates. So there's been a lot of consistency in what we do, but I just don't ever look at that. I don't ever to me, when that's your mentality, it's like you've arrived. And so now how do we stay here? We don't ever stay there. So it's like climbing a mountain all over every year. You don't get to stay on top of the mountain. Every year we're back at the bottom. So I think when you start having the mentality that you're not building anymore, then that's where, you get in trouble. But, it's hard to be successful. It's hard to stay successful, but that's what makes it fun.
I went and looked at your background. You didn't have your life, Dabo, wasn't always easy. I read your background, and I wonder, have you looked back and gone, I'm pretty tough. I'm pretty resilient. And some of that comes from a little bit of chaos when you're younger.
Well, there's no question about that. I mean, and that really resonated with me big time when I became a coach, because I didn't go to college to be a coach. And I guess if I was growing up today, I would be considered an at-risk kid. How the world labels people. I would have been labeled at risk. I mean, so no education in my family. My parents were married at 18. My dad was just an appliance serviceman. My mom, worked at Kmart, the mall, cut hair, did whatever she could. I'm the baby of 3 boys. Nobody in my family had been to college. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great. I didn't even know any of my great-grandparents. So, but nobody had been, no education, just hardworking people. And, you went to work in our family. It's just what you did. And, my father was an alcoholic, a good man, a great heart, but had a lot of demons. And he was a mean drunk. He was not anybody you wanted to be around. And, violence in the home, divorce, living here, living there, moving all over the place. I mean, so, I would be considered an at-risk kid for sure. And you know what? I was an honor society student. I was a 3-sport guy, and, athletics was huge for me. My teachers, my coaches, small town, my wife and I have been together since the 1st grade. We started going together in the 6th grade and dated in high school and all through college. And her family was the exact opposite. Everybody in her family's a PhD, a master's, teachers, all that. And so I just had I had a lot of people that really, just helped me. I mean, my faith, I got led to the Lord when I was 16 years old. That was a huge turning point for me, and just creating hope and creating belief in something more than what I had. And you're right. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think, and even to this day, I mean, when I meet with players, I mean, sometimes guys will come in and they'll be like, well, you don't understand, I mean, my dad this, my mom that. And I'm like, no, I do understand. And here's what I do know. You're either going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. You're either going to create the change, all right, or you're going to continue to have the same. So if that's what's been happening in my family, somewhere along the line, somebody's got to change that. And for me, all I knew was that if I got a college education, I was going to have a chance to be successful in life. That's all I knew. And that's what I believed in. And, I could have played small. I wanted to go to the University of Alabama. That's all I knew. And I wanted to see if I could play ball. And I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I was a pre-med major for 3 years, a biology major. And I just, next thing ended up getting my degree in hospital administration once I realized I wasn't going to be able to go to med school for 10 more years. And then when I finished playing, I made the team, got a scholarship, lettered 3 years, won a national championship. And when I finished playing, Coach Stallings, I went out to spring practice. I was graduating May of '93 and getting ready to start a job and get married. And Coach Stallings was like, hey, you need to get a master's degree. And I'm like, Coach, I don't want to, I'm done with school. I'm going to work. And he's like, I said, you need a master's degree and you start in July. And, so the next thing I know, I'm a grad assistant for Coach Stallings and Homer Smith and Woody McCorvey and those guys. And within a week of being a GA, it was like clarity of my life. Like, wow, like it just, all of a sudden I just realized that God had been equipping me to do this job. And I made a decision. So I went on and got my MBA and I'm ready to coach. And then Coach Stallings hired me full time at 26. And so I stayed on there and actually got out of coaching for 2 years in 01 and 02. And then I came to Clemson in February of 03, thinking I'd be here a year or two. And now I'm starting my 19th season and my 13th as the head coach. So, and just like I was an at-risk kid, and I did not let those become excuses for failure. I let those things fuel me. To go be successful. I didn't care what other people had and what I didn't. I just went to work, man, and got a Pell Grant. I got student loans. I went to college. I worked all the time. And, I just decided this is what I wanted to do. And, man, it was an unbelievable experience for me to be equipped and challenged and shaped at the University of Alabama, and through success, through failure. The pain in my life led to my purpose. It really did. And I'm so thankful for that. I wouldn't change anything about anything that I experienced because it really helped me find my purpose. And again, I know that God was really equipping me. But just like I was an at-risk kid, and I was an at-risk hire as a football coach here. I mean, that's one of my, and I wake up every day, I see the same thing. I mean, literally there's a graphic. I have that graphic. ESPN had me listed as a D+ hire. And I'll never forget that. I still got it. I got it printed out, man. It's like, I was a D. It was the hires of 2009. I was a D+ hire. And they basically said Clemson is crazy. And, so, hey, I'm thankful for the plus. I can tell you that. But, I was an at-risk hire, but those same things that made me successful, and what I learned in my life is to not let other people, determine my worth. And I learned how to live inside out and not outside in. And that's just how I've always gone about my business. And, every day that I get up, I don't see what, now people see a successful coach and all these things and what people read in the paper. I don't see that. I really, truly see the same kid from Pelham, Alabama, chasing his dream every single day. And that's the mentality I have. And I'm passionate about what I do. And that's, using this game to teach and develop, great men through the game, and hopefully win a bunch of games along the way. But more importantly, I think how you win is what matters most.
Well, you had me as a D+ sportscaster a few years ago. Now we're on good. We're on good ground.
Yeah, I did not know who you were, to be honest with you. I really didn't. In fact, you that's how I found out who you were. Was somebody sent me your clip, and I'm thankful for you. Somebody sent me your clip. I think you called us a fraud or something.
Clemson's a fraud. Clemson's going to get their ears boxed by whoever they play. They should have 3 losses, maybe 4. I don't buy into Clemson. They're the New York Giants of college football. I don't care what their record is. I don't buy into them.
And I'm like, who the heck is this guy? I didn't know who he was, but I had a lot of fun with our team, and it was great. It was one of those cool moments, and we were getting ready to play Alabama, and I don't know, somebody had gotten me this clip, and I was like, this is perfect. Save that. And I'm like, who is this? and so. I don't do social media. I don't have all that stuff. I've never done that stuff. So I didn't really know, but I'm thankful for you because it was great. And I just one of those deals. I say, hey boys, just get me to the press conference. Just get me there and we'll have some fun with this. So to be honest with you, I had forgotten about it. And, you just win a national championship, you got a lot going on. And one of the players reminded me, hey, don't forget about that. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's right.
The guy that called us a fraud. Ask Alabama if we're a fraud. Was his name Colin Cowherd? Ask him. I don't never met him, don't know him. Ask him if we're Alabama if we're a fraud. Ask Ohio State if we're a fraud. Ask Oklahoma if we're a fraud. The only fraud is that guy because he didn't do his homework. I hope y'all print that.
And so anyway, we had a little fun at your expense, but. Anyway.
Oh, I love it. It's so funny. So Dabo, I come in and do about 2 hours of prep every morning. So the game was over and we were all rooting for you because we were getting tired of Alabama. So you won. I went to bed because I have to get up early. So I didn't see the post game. So I come in for my prep and I sit there. Okay. So the prep starts about 5:50, 7:27. All the guys look at me and they go, well, aren't you going to talk about what Dabo said? And I said, well, what the hell Dabo say? What are you talking about? And they played it. And I went, guys, this is the lead to the show. What are we doing for 2 hours? And by the way, we loved it. I mean, I went on the air and I'm like, you know what? I own it. It's funny. I watched you twice early because I love college football. And you struggled a little bit offensively. And I think it was you couldn't put away NC State. And I said, how did these guys get? But it was classic. I saw you early and I didn't catch you late. And boy, by the time that was a team that got much better in the last 6 weeks of the season. But, to be honest with you, we loved it. I had a ball with it. And by the way, I used to work at ESPN. So I can tell you, Dabo, they just hated you saying that on the air. They hated it. So I want to go to this. So I saw Trevor Lawrence in San Diego his junior year. So a buddy of mine, Steve Clarkson, called. He said, I'm having a camp down here. There's a kid you need to look at. Yep. So I went down and watched him. And I came back from that camp and I went on the air and I said, I just saw the best high school quarterback I think I've ever seen. You see all the good ones. The first reaction when you saw Trevor Lawrence, what was your first reaction?
Like a cyborg, man. I mean, just unbelievable. Never really seen anything like it. What does it look like when you see Steph Curry shoot a basketball? You just go, wow, like you just could sit there and watch him shoot a basketball all day. Right. And that's kind of how you feel when you watch Trevor. And, the first time I met him was in the 9th grade. He came into the office and I was like, this is amazing. And I had not watched any tape on him at that point. I just met him and he was up here passing through and I told him I was going to watch him his sophomore year. I didn't offer him a scholarship. That's probably one of the reasons we got him is he had like 50 offers. I said, I just meet you. I haven't watched your tape. I said, but I'm going to watch you this year. I want to see you drive a car. I'd like to, maybe see you go to prom or something. And let's you're talking about you want to be the face of our program. And so I did. I watched him his sophomore year every week. And I mean, oh my goodness. So we offered him and then he committed as a junior, but I remember, it's funny you say that. Every year we usually do a Nike trip with about 20 coaches. And so he had committed his junior year and we're on the Nike trip and we go in February every year. And David Shaw is a good friend of mine. I love David. And David and I were sitting there talking and he said, I'm going to tell you, he said, it's exactly what he said. And we had a bunch of good players at the time. He goes, I don't know who your quarterback, he was a junior in high school, had another year of high school. He said, I know you've got a couple good guys committed this year. I know you got some good guys on the team, but I can tell you who your quarterback's going to be next year. And he said, that kid you got committed out of Georgia, he said, that's the best quarterback I have ever seen in high school that I've ever evaluated.
Wow.
And you know, that always stuck with me. And so, you know, but you never really know until you start coaching. Like, you know, I've had lots of great high school players, and then all of a sudden you get them, and, you know, the transition is different. You know, the speed of the game, the technical part of the game, the transition from an installation and verbiage and all those things. I mean, you never know, you know, how a guy's going to adjust. And, you know, he's just, you know, Deshaun was special in that way. I mean, you know, Deshaun just wasn't as big as Trevor, but he was unique in that he absorbed it. And you knew right away, like, this kid is different. And everything that I loved about Deshaun, I didn't know that I would ever coach another guy like Deshaun. And everything I loved about Deshaun, here this guy shows up, except he's 6'6" and, you know, 215 pounds and unbelievable arm talent. And so, but you never really know where are they going to be mentally. And he shows up here that first spring, and it was just, I mean, like, wow. I mean, you really would watch this kid, and you just knew, like, as soon as he gets through spring and he kind of gets his feet on the ground and really has but the game never seemed fast to him from day one.
Wow.
Like he'd been doing it forever. And you know, his first pass at A&M in College Station, touchdown to T. Higgins, his first pass on that stage. And so, you know, but he's just a very, very gifted player. And, you know, there's not anything, if there's 100 boxes that you want to write down on a guy that you would want in the ideal quarterback, he checks every box. There's not a single box that he checks. In fact, he has some things that you don't even really need. I mean, he's just a generational type player, and I'm super excited about him. I'll tell you, we got a kid that's going to take his place. Looks like somebody went to a lab and, you know, birthed between Trevor and Deshaun. You know, he's you know, this DJ Unga, he's going to be a great one too. And you know, has the same type of physical gifts and aptitude, just unique in his own way.
Yeah, he's the best high school quarterback out of California I've ever seen. He needs to get a little tempo on his ball. Sometimes he throws 98 miles an hour. He needs a little tempo, but he came to camp.
He came to camp. First time I saw him throw live, I mean, I thought he was going to kill somebody. We got all these little high school kids, you know, they're lined up and they all want to go with DJ. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, you know, because they don't have helmets on. I'm like, somebody's fixing to get a broken nose or something. Because you're right, he's throwing a slant route like a, you know, deep post. But he's matured a lot in that. But I think he wanted to really show us what kind of arm he had when he came into camp.
You know, Dabo, Lou Holtz once said that he turned down a 5-star recruit because he was in the house and he was disrespectful to his mom. And Lou said, I can't sign him. You get a lot of 5-star kids that want to talk to you because you're Dabo and you're Clemson. Have you ever, you've created a culture that's unique to you. It's an extension of your personality. You don't have to mention names. I wouldn't expect that. But you ever gone on a recruiting trip and said, fellas, I know he's talented, but he's not us. It doesn't work.
Oh, many times. Listen, I don't even have to go on a trip. You know, I mean, I can spend 5 minutes with a guy. I mean, you know, and I think that's something that has led to our success. You know, we've never signed transfers or junior college players. Everything has been through the draft, if you will. And to this point, and we may have to change or adjust, who knows, but that's been our philosophy from day one. Because it's been, you know, we've been a developmental, relationship-driven program. And if that's your philosophy, you better be right on the front end. You know, this is not a program. I mean, 9 out of 10 years, top 10 academically. You know, you can't have a lot of attrition and running guys off and things like that. Our kids graduate. I mean, we're 98% graduation rate. You know, since I've been the head coach, that's the number one thing in our program. You know, again, it all goes back to how I was shaped. You know, I've had a lot of great experiences, but walking across that stage and getting my degree at Alabama made me different from everybody else in my family. And it gave me opportunities that my mom and dad, my brothers, that they didn't get in life. because of that. And I also saw firsthand a lot of players, teammates, that the band cheered loud for them, and everybody was cheering for them. And then all of a sudden football's over and they don't have, because back in those days, you just majored in eligibility. You know, there was a lot of guys just stayed eligible every year, and they were there 3-4 years and weren't any closer to a degree than they were when they walked in the door. Thankfully, all those rules have been changed, you know, and I just never have wanted that for my players, you know. And so the number one thing in our program is value in education and equipping, getting your degree. You know, 1.7% of college players play in the NFL. And it's a shame that we make it all about that. And that's not what it's all about here. I love that. I mean, I'm second in draft picks as a head coach since I've been a head coach, second in first round picks. So that's great. But we're 98% graduation rate, 9 out of 10 years, top 10 academically. Christian Wilkins won the Campbell Trophy. Trevor Lawrence graduated in 3 years. Deshaun, 2.5 years. Though that means more to me than anything is knowing that when football goes away, whenever that is, whether it's in college or right after college, that they're equipped and you know they've got that education to get a job and to be able to have a career doing something. There's so many places you can't get a job if you're not qualified, and so that's important to me. But you know, when your philosophy is what it is here, you got to be right. And you know, early on, you know, had to take a few more chances on some guys. You're trying to build a program. And when you get a job, nobody came there for you to be their head coach. So the first thing you got to do is you got to recruit your team. And you got to have a vision and you got to articulate it and you got to get them to buy in. And that's why I'm forever thankful for my first few teams, because they're the forefathers of what we have today. You know, because those kids had to make a decision to buy into the way I wanted to do things and what we were going to be about. And now, you know, to protect our program, it's all about, I mean, don't avoid red flags. You know, so many people, they just look the other way. And, you know, the philosophy of our program is to serve their heart, not their talent. And you know, so that starts in the recruiting process. To me, we're incredibly transparent brutally. If you look at how many, I think we've had 3 decommitments in 6 years. And that's because we're incredibly transparent. I hate the term. If sometimes people say, oh, we got to de-recruit them. If we got to de-recruit somebody, then we weren't authentic. We weren't genuine. We didn't tell them the truth. You know, I don't want to de-recruit nobody. I want them to know this is the way it's going to be. If you don't go to class here, you ain't playing. If you're not going to follow the rules and you're not going to be a good citizen, you're going to be out smoking dope, whatever it is, you ain't playing. I mean, it's just that simple. Don't come here because we're not going to use you. You know, we're going to empower you. We're going to serve your heart. And that's been that way from day one. And so that's not for everybody. And, you know, I've got 21 former players on my staff. Most of these guys played for me, you know, so, you know, it's a very connected place. And, you know, with our former players and you know, I mean, I love these guys and the guys that are coming in here. It's a big deal to me when a guy says, hey, I want to go, you know, because they're not just choosing a place, they're choosing a person and people too. And it's important to me when a young man says, hey, I want to go play for that guy, because the guys we're recruiting today, they could play for anybody. But we got to get the right guys. And there's been a ton of guys, that have all kind of offers that they don't ever get an offer from Clemson. In fact, and you can, the last time I looked, it was about a month ago or so, the Power 65 teams, I think we were 3rd in fewest offers. So the number 1 team had like 400 something offers and we had like 50. All right. So we just don't offer many guys, but our offers mean something too. You know, if you get an offer from us, it's a committable offer. There's no uncommittable offer or whatever that means. So that's just how we've done it. We've done it a different way. We don't do spring official visits. You know, they started that a few years ago. We've not done any spring or summer official visits. You know, if a kid's not going to come and visit us unofficially, then in my opinion, he's not very interested. And if he's not going to come unofficially, he's probably not going to come for 4 years. So yeah, everybody wants to get on a plane and come see Clemson. You know, but we're not about entertaining guys. We want to get the right people in place, because I think at the end of the day, you win with people. And we're the second winningest team in the country the last 10 years, and we've not had a single number one recruiting class. Alabama, I think, has been number one in the country 9 out of the last 10 years. We ain't had a number one class yet. I think we're an average about 9th over the last 10 years. But yet we've won 2 national championships and we've won a bunch of games. So, you know, we do it with people, we do it with relationship, we do it with development. And, you know, hopefully that's how we can continue to do things here.
So, Dabo, I want to end this with what I call rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a question, and you give me a sentence or maybe an explanation. And you're a good storyteller, so that's not easy for you. You're a good storyteller. So here we go. Best coach you faced who never gets mentioned among the great coaches?
I would say Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. I think he's a really good football coach, and he has done a great job there. I mean, he's at Dino. There's another one at Syracuse. He's always a handful. You know, I think Bronco at Virginia is a really good football coach. That'd probably be, you know, something. I'm just thinking about guys we play every single year.
Right.
Those are some of the guys that jump out.
Toughest loss of your career?
Oh, man. Every loss is tough. Probably the first national championship in 15. You know, I thought we were the better team. We really dominated the game, had the lead in the fourth quarter, and you know, they had the 100-yard kick return, and they had the onside kick, and that was the difference in the game. It was a 40, I guess, was it 45-40, and you know, 35 years since Clemson had been a national champion, and here we are. You know, we've come from our beginnings in 2009, and now it's 2015. It's 6 years later. We're in a national championship. We're playing Alabama, and we put up almost 600 yards of offense, but you know, we made a couple too many mistakes, and you know, the kick return and their execution on that onside kick, that was a really, really tough. I mean, they're all tough, but that was just gut wrenching because you know, you felt like you just let everybody down, and it was a tough moment, you know, but you know, just wasn't meant to be, but it was all part of our journey. And then the very next year we win it all with 1 second on the clock, you know, and another epic game.
Last time on the headset in a game, an assistant coach talked you in or out of something?
Shoot, probably the last game we played. That happens all the time. I mean, that's every game. I mean, we communicate, you know, well. Again, most of these guys played for me. Streeter, my quarterback coach, was a GA for me. Tony, my offensive coordinator, was a receiver for me and captain. And, you know, so, I mean, I have great relationships with all these guys. I mean, we communicate constantly. So that's happened many times.
True or false? Have you ever gone to your athletic director and said, it's so dang hot here in September, can we just play night games? It's too hot to stand in that sun at 1 Eastern.
You're talking to the wrong guy there, man. Mo hotter, mo better. That's my saying. I like it hot. You know, I'm from Alabama, man. I grew up in the heat. I like it hot and sweaty, and it don't matter. You know, play whenever. It just doesn't matter to me. I love it. That's my mentality. I tell my team that all the time. Mo hotter, mo better. Let's go.
The recruit you're proudest of that you sold your staff on, you sold people on, and you got a little pushback, and you look back years later and you're like, boy, you're proud of that.
Oh, that's easy. That's really easy. That's Grady Jarrett, who is the 37th highest paid athlete in the world right now. He sacked Tom Brady 3 times in the Super Bowl that the Falcons should have won. And would have been the defensive MVP if the Falcons hadn't have messed that game up. He was a 2-star recruit, and he was the state wrestling champ, led the state of Georgia in sacks, and he was from down there at Rockdale, Georgia, and he came to camp. All right, he comes to camp. I'll never forget it. I go over to watch the OLDL, the pass rush section. And Dan Brooks, he goes, you need to watch this kid. And so I watched him, and I mean, he was destroying everybody. He's barely 6 feet, like on his tippy toes, and doesn't have any of the measurables that you want. You know, if you met him to this day, you would never know who he is. It's amazing. But I watched him, and we already had a kid who was kind of similar body type. And actually he plays for the Broncos now, a kid named Deshaun Williams. And I'll never forget, I'm watching. And I said, I'm watching his mom over there. His mom's she's as much into it as he is. And the kid would go he would go and he'd go and get in line again. And he didn't care who he went against. And I'm like, man, this is what I want on my team. And this would have been 11, 12, 13, 14. So his first year here was 11. And so this would have been 2010. I'm like, so I tell his mom and this kid to come to my office. And so some of the coaches heard about it. And I said, man, I'm going to offer this kid. And I had some of my coaches, man, we had the staff meeting to talk about it. I got the mom and Grady coming to my office. And I already know I'm going to offer him. And I get in there, and man, it was one of the, I listened, it was a come to Jesus. And I had coaches like, Coach, we cannot do that. We don't need another short guy. We don't, whatever. And I listened for a little while, and I said, finally I said, well, I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. I've been doing camp for a long time, and I have yet to see anybody like that guy. And I want that guy on this team, and he's going to be a Coach Swinney signee. If he stinks, it ain't nobody's fault. I'm not going to hold anybody accountable. All right. This is 100% on me. Nobody's accountable for this guy. Well, we signed him, and it was some, hurt feelings and a little pouting and all that. And so next thing you know, I got this kid in my office, and his mama, Lisa Jarrett, and she's an amazing lady. And I told him, I said, look, I'm just telling you right now, what you got, we want on this team. And we had a great talk. Well, he commits, and we beat Buffalo, University of Buffalo, to get this guy. He had no offers, and he comes in here, and he ends up starting as a true freshman. All right. And in his senior year, 2014, we were the #1 defense in the country in every statistical category, every single one of them. All right. And then, so now it's time to go to the draft. Well, same things happens in the draft. Guess what? He's too short. His arms aren't long enough. He's not big enough. He's barely 300 pounds, whatever, all this stuff. And I sat in my office with Dan Quinn and the GM, because they wanted to draft Vic Beasley. All right. And I told him, I said, well, you're going to love Vic Beasley because he's a freaky dude, man. This guy can rush the passer. He's going to make you better. I said, but Grady Jarrett will change your locker room. He'll change your community. He's going to make you better as coaches. And that's the guy. And literally to this day, if you told me I could redraft my team, start a program all over again, and draft from all the kids that I've had in this program, he'd be in my top 3 draft picks. And he was a 5th round draft pick. And if you went back right now and looked at all the D tackles that were drafted in front of Grady Jarrett, it's embarrassing. All right. It's embarrassing. Most of them ain't in the league no more. This guy is unbelievable human being, one of the greatest leaders I've ever been around. He is like a foundational piece to what we enjoy today. He didn't get a chance to win a national championship, but you best believe we would never have won one if it wasn't for Grady Jarrett and the impact that he had while he was here. And so that's an easy answer right there. And I got a bunch of guys like that. Adam Humphries, I think he makes $9 million a year. He was a little wide out. Only Division I offer that he had was us. And we caught a lot of grief for signing him because there was another kid there. And everybody's like, oh, we're signing him to get this kid. And, well, Adam was a great player here. And he was a tryout free agent for the Bucs and ended up starting his first ever NFL game as a tryout free agent. And, was making $9 million a year last year for the Titans. And now he's with the Redskins. But he's had an unbelievable career. So we've had a lot of those type of guys. And it's cool to see the Hunter Renfro walk on. He's been pretty good. He was a walk on. His first national championship game, he was a redshirt freshman walk on and had 10 catches and 2 touchdowns against Alabama out there in Arizona. And then came back the next year, his sophomore year, and had the game winner. He's a 155-pound dude. It looks like the the trainer. He never looks like, even if you met him today, you'd never think he starts for the Raiders.
I'll tell you what, Dabo, this was such a pleasure. I can see, recruiting is so much about relationships. It's there is no question. I look at you now and I think, oh, yeah, of course, this is why you built the program. Your story's great. You're a great communicator. You're a great storyteller. And this was just a pleasure for me. And I don't know if you like a beer occasionally, but if we ever run into
red wine. That's a red wine.
See, I'm from California. I should love that stuff. I'd rather have a beer. It's great talking to you, Coach.
Yep. Enjoyed it.